Crime. We all know it happens. But what exactly is it? In a minute you'll see some examples of crime, comparing Droitwich with the rest of England. Crime is when people break the law. Laws set up by the government to protect people, to enable people to get on with their daily lives. So first of all, I want to focus on this for a while, and I'm going to leave this up. And what I'd like you to do now is just pause the video when I say so, and just have a look at this slide here, because it's very interesting. If Droitwich were 1,000 people, that's what it means. Now this was taken in about 2005. These statistics, and I got them straight off the website for the government. Basically, what they mean is this: these different crimes down here are the crimes that have been categorised by the government. And what they've done is they've looked at different crimes. So you can see here that in the Wychavon Council, which is not just Droitwich. Droitwich is the biggest conurbation, the biggest group of houses in that particular area. But in the Wychavon Council, which also includes Ombersley and Fernal Heath and going off towards Evesham on the other side, Bishampton and places like that, there's 117,100 people. That is split up into 50,000 households. Now, if you actually look at that, the average population of Droitwich is between 40 and 50,000. Okay, so that sort of tells you the differences there. But these are the crimes. So if Droitwich was just 1,000 people, 7.6% of the population will have been burgled. Okay, will have been victims of the crime burglary. 10.4 people, if it was just 1,000, would have been victims of the crime of criminal damage. So that's how they do it in the government. If this area was just 1,000 people, this is how many people would have been affected. So I want you just to pause now and have a quick look and see if there's anything that shocks you or anything that's quite amazing. Just sort of jot down your ideas, possibly on your Cornell note making system. Okay, so what did you think then? What did you find out? There's a few things that amaze me and I sort of look at. The first one here is burglary. Now, burglary in the Droitwich area is pretty similar to the national average, the English average. Okay, it's quite close, as opposed to other things like things like robbery, which whilst it's very rare, robbery happens, only 1.6. Around here, it's extraordinarily rare. That's robbery, things like robbing garages and places like that for people who haven't armed robbery and stuff like that. Other offences, if you notice, if you look down at them, offences against vehicles is very, very close, okay, as is things like criminal damage, very close, over half the English national average. But overall, if I was to look at all these figures here, if I was to say moving to Droitwich and look at all of those, none of them is above the national average. In fact, some of them are quite considerably lower. Violence against the person there. Now that has a lot to do with the population of Droitwich. Has a lot to do with the fact that even people that you don't meet, if you think about it, if Droitwich was just 1,000 people, there'd be a very, very small amount of those who'd be your age. Okay, Droitwich is quite not an ageing population, but a population that either commutes a lot. It's a commuter town. So the actual crime in the town doesn't seem to be committed a great deal. For example, a lot of people are quite shocked when they look at the drug offences. Drug offences are nowhere near even half the national average, a third the national average, and yet people assume that Droitwich is has a big crime and drug problem. But as we can see, it actually doesn't. The big ones are criminal damage, offences against vehicles, and other theft offences. So probably minor theft offences, little things like that. Criminal damage, all right, people who graffiti, maybe stuff like that, and offences against the vehicle. So actually, what happens when people attack each other's vehicle? Purely vandalism and things like that. So you can see these are quite interesting, I think, because we live in quite a good area of the UK. There's a number of areas, and areas that I've taught in, that actually have a much higher than the English national average. Right now, you realise that there's going to be areas that are higher, and there's going to be areas that are lower, and it just sort of opens your eyes up a little bit that actually Droitwich isn't quite a bad town to live in, and as far as crime is concerned, it's not too worrying, at all. There are two main types of crime: non-indictable offences, less serious crimes like not using a light on a bike or driving at 34 miles an hour in a 30 miles an hour limit. These crimes are not likely to put you in prison unless you completely do them frequently. There are also indictable offences, such as an armed robbery or murder, where people generally go to prison if they are found guilty. Some offences are crimes against the person, directed at individuals or a group of people. These can include serious crimes such as rape or murder, but also can include things like neglect or slander. A recent British crime survey showed that only 19% of crime reported to the police was violent crime against a person or a group of people, and most of these involved hardly any injury at all, let alone serious injury.
Bravo! Encore!
The majority of offences are crime against property. For example, stealing, vehicles, shoplifting, downloading music illegally, as well as criminal damage, such as vandalism and arson. There's also crimes against the state. This could be serious, like selling secrets to another country, or not so serious, when people try to avoid paying taxes or benefit fraud. Inciting religious hatred is quite a new crime in this country, where some people aim to make others hate a particular religion due to their actions. Here is an example of a girl in the West Midlands who set fire to the Quran at her school to annoy some people who were picking on her. The ignorant thing that she did, however, was that she then put the video onto Facebook so that others in the world could see it. The Quran is a Muslim's most sacred thing. They believe it is the word of their God. By setting it on fire, the girl could have been inciting religious hatred. She actually wasn't. It was a foolish mistake, and she apologised. There are many crimes that are crimes against religion, like the one you just heard about, the girls who burned the Quran. But mostly, religious believers are dealing with the idea of sin. And they think that sin, or religious believers believe that sin is going against a rule or a commandment that God has made. And I'm just going to put up this thing here, the Ten Commandments, and I've also put alongside it, this is a picture I got off the internet, the Ten Commandments would be Christianity or Judaism rules for that religion, and on the other side there's the similar one that Muslims believe in, that Islam teaches, and you can have a look there. Now, if we look at some of these rules, they're against the law. Okay, so they would be seen there. Thou shalt not kill is obviously a religious rule, but it's also against the law. However, some of them, the rules are not against the law. They're not a crime. For example, you shall not commit adultery. Adultery is when you have an affair with someone, and that's not a crime. People can have affairs, but many people believe it's wrong. You don't have to just be religious to believe it's wrong. Many non-religious believers believe committing adultery is wrong, but you're not going to get thrown into prison for it. Other ones, again, a crime there, thou shalt not steal, is a crime. It's against the law. Here, though, thou shalt not covet thy neighbour's wife or possessions. And what that basically means is that you shouldn't be jealous of other people's what they have. And of course, that's not a crime. That's not something that's against the law. So it's important there to realise that there's a difference between a sin and a crime. And sometimes the two can be the same, like thou shalt not kill. But often, what religious believers believe is wrong and a sin is not against the law. Whilst crime and the criminals are wrong, a Christian would say that their actions should be to forgive them, to try and make sure that they come back into society. As we saw with G. Walker last year, she believed that as Jesus forgave, so should we. Muslims believe that law and order is really important, especially obeying God's law as given in the Quran, and that crime and criminals should be given justice, but punishment to deter others, as we shall see, is vitally important for them.